Shalom. When a person puts on a mask, you're typically thinking that this mask is meant to protect you from inhaling something. That's typically the mindset that people think when they wear masks. The idea of the mask being able to stop you from exhaling something and thus protecting other people from you is not really the first thing that comes to your mind when you are considering putting on a mask. But only when it comes to this virus, and only when it comes to masks that are advised to be worn as a result of this virus, do we see this narrative reverse? Do we see the narrative of a mask being used to protect you be reversed in favor of a narrative of where the mask is being used to protect others around you? Now, I find this kind of strange and contradictory when you think about it. If everyone is wearing masks, we can assume that particulates that manage to pass through the fabric of the mask would have an easy time or hard time passing through that fabric, regardless if it's coming in or going out. This fabric is the same consistency, whether you are exhaling air through the fabric or inhaling air through the fabric. There's no reason to believe that something can come in but cannot go out. If something can go through the fabric in, then logic dictates that it can go through the fabric on its way out of your mouth or nose. So this idea that wearing a mask is purely for protecting other people around you who presumably would be wearing masks as well, since it is now in increasing number of states becoming a mandatory thing that people wear masks. The idea that this is all for the purpose of preventing people from spreading the virus rather than protecting them from contracting the virus seems to be a bit asinine, if you can understand what I'm saying. And I think I know why this narrative has been chosen. But first, I would like to point out some of these links to articles where they discuss various masks and how they can help with the battle against the virus. And all of these two websites, one of them being the CDC, they make the same argument that we're constantly hearing on the mainstream media, is that these masks are really meant to stop people from transmitting the virus. That is the overwhelming, often repeated reason for why everyone should be wearing a mask. It's not for the protection of the person wearing the mask. It's for the protection of the people around that person wearing the mask. But there has to be a logical fallacy here. Again, like I said, if a particle cannot pass through the mask when you exhale it from your mouth, how is it somehow able to pass through the mask when you inhale it? It doesn't make any sense. And to prove that this is a growing conspiracy, I will point to this particular article here, which shows that certain masks, which are proven to be highly, highly effective in protecting the wearer from contaminants, are actually in some areas outlawed in this country because these masks have a valve on them. This valve allows the person who is wearing the mask to exhale more easily. So it's like an exhaust valve. You've probably seen these masks. They're N95 masks and things like that. And they'll have this little plastic valve on the front of them. This is an exhale valve, exhaust valve, basically. It allows you to breathe out more efficiently. It allows you to get more of the hot air that you're breathing out of the mask, thus making wearing the mask much more comfortable. But these particular masks appear to be, according to this article, in some cities or states, they have outlawed these masks from being used by the common citizen, obviously. Naturally, emergency personnel can still wear them. And routinely, you do see them wearing these type of masks with the little exhaust valve on the front. Now, the reason why we're told in this article that these masks are banned, outlawed, where you can actually be fined or imprisoned for wearing one, is that though they protect the wearer, they do not protect the people around the wearer because of the exhaust valve, which will allow the wearer, if the person does have the virus, to exhale a lot of their contaminated breath. See, again, we're told that wearing these masks, the basic ones, the cloth ones, the ones that do not have any valves, is to prevent us from spreading the virus. So these masks that have these exhaust valves are basically, they go against what the stated narrative is for wearing masks, for masks being mandated. But if a basic cloth mask, according to this mandate, if a basic cloth mask is sufficient to stop your exhaling, to stop the potential viral particles that are in your exhale from penetrating the fabric, then that also means that cloth mask is sufficient to prevent you from inhaling those particles from the air through the fabric into your mouth. The fabric is the same whether it's covering your face, directly covering your mouth, or on the other side. It's the same fabric. So if the fabric's good enough to stop a particle from going one way through it, it's going to stop it from going the other way through. So what does it matter if everybody is mandated to wear masks, and we have some people who are wearing these masks that have these exhaust valves on them? What does it matter? It should not matter, because if everybody's wearing some type of mask, that, according to this mandate, according to the official story that we're told for the reason to wear a mask, whether you are breathing in air that potentially is contaminated, that fabric of your mask should be sufficient to block the contaminant from getting into your lung. If the fabric's good enough to stop you from exhaling the contaminant, it has to be good enough to prevent you from inhaling the contaminant. So there's no reason for logically, when you think about it, for these masks that have these exhaust valves to be banned with the potential of a fine or possible imprisonment, there's no reason for these masks to be underneath this type of regulation. No logical reason. But I do believe that there is a grander scheme at play here. And I do believe Mr. Bill Gates may have let slip what that scheme is. During a CNN virus town hall that took place on June 25th, Anderson Cooper and Sanjay Gupta interviewed Bill Gates. Now, I don't know why they keep going back to Bill Gates. This man did not make his fortune in viral research or biology. But for some reason, he has become Mr. Vaccine. So everybody goes to him. He's become Mr. Vaccine and Mr. Pathogen and Mr. Pandemic, Mr. Outbreak. You know, whenever something like that is happening, people want to talk to Bill Gates for some strange reason. Well, anyway, in this particular interview, Bill Gates made the statement, which strangely enough, when I look on the CNN website for this interview, though I do find the interview, I do not find this particular part of the interview. They've suspiciously cut it from the interview that they have on their website now. So I was fortunate enough to see this interview when it originally aired. In this particular part of this interview, Bill Gates made the statement that a potential vaccine for the virus could possibly work one of two ways. The first way, he stated, was basically the way that we always know vaccines to work, is that they grant you some type of immunity to whatever it is that you're being vaccinated against. That's typically how we understand vaccines to work. You get a flu shot, and what you expect the flu shot to do, make you more resistant to the flu vaccine, the flu virus. You get whatever inoculation. Your mentality is that this shot, this vaccination, will make you more resistant, will make the probability of you becoming infected with that particular disease or virus lower. So that's the first way he says that the vaccine for this particular pandemic could work. Now, the second way he stated was one I had never heard before. And I would have to think that this would be a first for a vaccine. Bill Gates basically went on to state that the second possible way the vaccine for the virus could work is that all it would really do is prevent a person who is infected with the virus from transmitting it. That's basically the only thing that that particular vaccine would do. Now, again, I've never heard of any vaccine having such an effect on a person. It's basically what Bill Gates said is that this particular vaccine, if it went down that particular path, it would not offer you any immunity to the virus. All it would do is prevent you, if you so happen to have the virus, from transmitting it to other people. So that's kind of strange. It's kind of a very strange mode of function for what you would consider a vaccine to do. And it's also strange that CNN on their website, they've seen fit to omit this particular segment of the interview from the interview that they have on their website. It's not on there. But I'm telling you that this is what I heard when this particular town hall aired originally on June 25th. This is the statement that Bill Gates made. And so I got to thinking about these masks and the stated reason for why we need to wear them. And I got to thinking about why certain masks, like I said, the ones that have the exhaust valve, are in some places actually illegal to wear. Then I started to consider, could this whole mask thing be a way to condition people mentally to the idea of a vaccine that does not cure anyone or does not grant anyone any immunity, but all it does is stops you from transmitting the virus. So what we hear now is that people would need to wear these masks to stop from transmitting the virus to other people, not to protect themselves from the virus, but to prevent you from transmitting the virus to other people. Could we, in the not too distant future, when the talk really starts to increase concerning this potential vaccine, be hearing the same exact talking points when it comes to the vaccine? That the reason for people to get this vaccine would not be to protect them from the virus, but it would be to prevent them from transmitting it to other people. See, I think old Bill let something slip right there. Hence the reason why, like I said, that part of the interview has been removed. See, when you put these pieces together, and then you start to see the conditioning that's at place, it gives you a good outlook on what the future might actually be. Because when it comes to a vaccine, there's one argument that is completely unescapable. And that's the argument that if the person next to you is vaccinated, what do they have to worry about? And if they have nothing to worry about, why would they demand that you be vaccinated as well? That argument is infallible. If a vaccine grants you immunity from a deadly pathogen, and the person next to you is not vaccinated, how does that harm you? There's no harm to you. If you're vaccinated, you're immune, right? So there's no way you can truly, logically demand any sort of mandate in regards to vaccination underneath those circumstances. But what if you state that the vaccine simply prevents people from transmitting the virus? It does not cure the virus. It does not grant immunity to the virus. All it does is prevent you from transmitting the virus. Now, if two people are standing next to each other, one of them is vaccinated with that particular vaccine and the other one is not, there is a reason for that person that's vaccinated to demand the person that's not vaccinated to be vaccinated. Because even though the guy is vaccinated, he can still get it. The guy that's not vaccinated could still give him the virus, while the guy that is vaccinated, according to, he cannot give it to anyone, even if he's sick. So I think that's the same argument we're hearing right now when it comes to these masks. If one person is wearing a mask and another one's not wearing a mask, that person that's not wearing a mask has the potential of infecting the person that is wearing a mask. But the person that is wearing a mask does not have the potential to infect the person that's not wearing a mask. So I do believe we're going to hear that same argument with the vaccine whenever it is released. We're going to hear the same exact talking points that we're hearing now in this mass debate. And as a result, we're probably going to see the same mandates emerge around the nation. Just something to keep your eyes on, something to consider. It's fishy that they would remove this segment when Bill Gates made this statement. It's fishy that they would remove that from the recorded video on their websites. Basically, CNN is engaging in their own version of self-censoring. They're censoring themselves now. Strange time. Shalom.